Is your sleepless god back with a new video of what if Midoriya had Big Chill? Let's start the recap. What happened in the last video was that basically a group finally figured out where Percy and Annabeth were living as they sneak into the place, as they saw the giant drill and all that stuff, as they got attacked by pro heroes. As there's four of them. There's Bob, whose quirk is supersize. Basically, he's a mutation quirk where his body is double times the size of a normal human, but he is double times the fucking stupid as a normal human. And then we have Mikey, who's the team leader, who is geniusly smart, who is that's his quirk. He's just big brain. And then we have Jericho, the girl, who is ice, who has ice powers. No, Jericho is the sand guy, who can turn into sand and basically manipulate his entire body into sand. So if one crumble of sand is still left of his body, he can reform himself of sand. Annie is the ice girl, who can make ice and do all this stuff. As they found the place, as they broke in, pro heroes attacked. As Percy and Annabeth escaped by hopping into the drill and drilling all the way down to the ground, as the entire group got captured. And that's where we ended off. Let's start the video. As we see Percy and Annabeth basically still in the drill, as Annabeth is like trying to get her emotions back to stable, as Percy's saying like, calm down, it's all fine. As like Annabeth's like, yeah, easy for you to say, you're not panicking because you're a regular human. It's like, what do you mean? If they check your genetics, they'll probably find the mutation of you, of me, the bloodstream and all that, obvious, but they will also maybe find human. For me, they won't find human. They will find a monster. As Percy kind of like looks over at Annabeth, as he gives Annabeth, like, puts his hand on one of her shoulders. He says, just calm down. If anything happens to you or me, especially you, I will fight hundreds of heroes. I will fight the devil himself if must. Just calm down, okay? As Annabeth is like, okay, but you hold me on that. I'll hold you on that offer. As Percy smiles and he says, oh, trust me, I'm not letting you go for anything. As we cut back to Nezu and all the pro heroes, as they all are sitting back in a round table, but there's not a lot of them now. There are only a few, like All Might and a bunch of like very sure, like the max, like only people that actually matter are here. And Nezu is looking at all of them and saying, so we did not get a accurate or even talking to the alien species, and especially now because of the attack of the group itself, they are going to be more suspicious of humans and probably more dangerous. So we even have to act a little bit more carefully, and especially with more gentleism and carefulness. Also, be a lookout for any non-Nezu. If I didn't send them myself, and will be now giving key cards for those, it'd be instantly taking down and showing that they need to get out of the area or move their stuff to other area. As Nezu looking down. Of all the team captains of all the squads, basically, these are like the squad team captains. As everyone looking at him, as Night Eye raises her hand and she says, "So, what kind of thing do we have? Do you have any mindset of what we can do? Anything that we can do?" And he's like, "No, not really, because right now we have a other unit searching for the same thing that we're doing, but not in the right way. They want, probably in the best sense, and I'm using this very loosely, I do not know, to use it for a cloning process, number one. Number two, using it for a war process. That's number two. And number three is taking the kids over as a pro hero, if they're children, or using them as weapons in any way possible. So we need to get there first. So we need to rush, but also still be careful. And be on the lookout for any ice or dropping temperatures. Do we have ourselves understood?" As all the pro heroes nod their head and says, "Okay, you're all dismissed." As all the pro heroes leave the building, as Nezu's like, "These goddamn idiots." As he's moving his temple around, as his body, you can see his body starting to droop, and he's like, "If you want war, I will give you war." As you see Nezu hop out of his chair, and he starts walking to a certain area. As you see, almost a kind of big metal door. As you see two guards standing right beside the metal door. As Nezu walks up, they look down, and they both bow. He says, "Nezu," he says, "Yes, I need to be let in." As both guards look at him and say, "Yes, sir, absolutely." As they click on a key card and they type in a passcode, as they open the door, as Nezu walks in, and they see the four people. Bob is off in the corner section, basically playing with his thumbs. Jericho is trying to turn his hands and his body back into sand, but he can't. Mikey, though, is just standing there. Just sitting there perfectly still. Same with Anna. As you see a couple other pro heroes around, just trying to make sure that they're not trying to escape or anything, but Nezu looks at all of them and say, "Leave me, please." As the pro heroes look at him and just nod their head and walk away. As they both open the door, as Nezu pulls up a chair, sits down and says, "So," as he looks straight at Mikey, as he says, "I'm guessing you're the brains of the operation. By your stature and all that stuff, and plus because everyone looks like they lead by you, here. I can make you a steady deal, helping all your friends out, and maybe even helping you out." As Mikey looks up and says, "Yeah, an adult helping a kid out that can barely stand for himself? Most likely not. Unless you want something from us. In any otherwise sake, maybe. What is the thing?" As he looks at him and says, "Who's the person that hires you?" Who's the person that hired you? And he says, "Absolutely not." As Nezu says, "Why? Is it dangerous for you?" As the person says, "No. It's just getting on his bad side is not the best. Plus, we already got captured. We already probably the most suspicious thing in the world. And if I start telling you stuff and he starts figuring it out, I'm not going to be on the best list of him. I might not even get my presents for Christmas this year." As Nezu looks at him and says, If that was like a sense of humor thing, it was a thing about Santa Claus and his like naughty list. Never mind, it doesn't matter. But it's too risky. But what is your deal that you're going to give us? And Nezu looks up and he says, well, full scholarships for UA, for all four of you. And he looks at Bob. And full protection for anything dangerous that could have happened and would happen if you were in here. As Mikey looks up and looks at his team and he says, full scholarships, no holding back, no anything else, and right when we get done we can be heroes. As Nezu smiles and says, but you gotta tell me who hired you. As he smiles, he grabs out his hand and says, as Nezu pulls out his hand and both of them shake him, as he's like, his name is Black Claw. He runs a organization of kind of heroes. Most of them don't have a license, though. Vigilantes. Yes. But he's right now trying to use them to clone basically a giant army of them to use as vigilantes to make a giant force. As he says, do you know where they are? Well, they have multiple areas, and he says, most likely. Privet Drive, 444. As Nezu says, that's part of the slums area. I never said they had money, but I did say they were kind of a part. How much did you get paid? Not enough to keep them their secrets. As Nezu smiles and says, as he grabs out a piece of paper, as he pushes it up to them and says, all you have to do is sign your name. And there you go. As the people look around, as he looks at both of his teams, as he says, no, nothing else at all. Well, if you can give me a description of the things that you saw in the cave, I'll be quite happy and maybe give you a couple bonuses. As Mikey looks at Jericho, I didn't really get a good look because I was in my sand form, but they're blue in stature and they can make ice out of anything, freezing cold ice. And their eyes, there are two of them. As Nezu leans in, he says, two? He says, yes, there are two of them. Fully cloaked with blue and black things. One was a little bit taller than the other, by only a couple inches. But they all had the same figure, and they looked bony, almost. Like they were the Grim Reaper. As Nezu says, thank you. Now, as he sits down, as he was leaning forward, listening to explaining him, and he says, now, I got a job for you. As he unlocks his keys, unlocks the bracelets with this simple button press, and he says, I want you to find them again and bring them back to us. As Mikey says, that was not, he says, put his hand up and he says, I'll reimburse you and I'll pay you with living quarters and 3 meals a day. As Mikey looks up at him and says, you got yourself a deal then, sir.
as all of them stand up, as Mikey looks over at Bob, as Bob is like, looks up and he says, Mikey just does like a couple of like hand movements with his fingers, and Bob like shakes his head, stands up, and he's still crouched. It's not a big enough room, as he slowly starts moving out of the side of the room. As we cut to Percy and Annabeth, as Percy and Annabeth are basically starting to drill up to like back up to like the surface, as they break the surface, as Percy gets out and Annabeth gets out, as both of them stand up and they're starting to stretch out a little bit, as they're like, nice to feel the fresh air, not that cave smell anymore, as all you hear is a muffled scream, as Percy turns around and he sees a good 75 to 60 people, and this really buff guy with kind of this red skin about him say, "Oh, you have no idea," as he like clenches his fist. As this is where we're ending off, I hope you guys liked it. Also, I am doing a basically whoever like puts it on first, whoever comments first on the video of what like thing you want me to bring back, or something else you want me to do, something new or something old that you want me to bring back, or something you want me to make brand new. Whoever comments first is the first thing I'm going to build. Okay? See you guys later. Like, subscribe, comment down below. See ya.